Today we're going to discuss 3 tips on how to keep your skin plump and hydrated for the long term. So I'd like to thank one of my clients who shared this video of Dr. Berg's best quick fix on dry and wrinkled skin right here.
What you do is you wet your hands, okay? And then you put a couple drops in your hands, rub it together, and just rub it throughout your hands and do that like once or twice a day. I'd also recommend that you just put a little tiny water in your hand, put a couple more drops, rub it into your hands, and rub it through your face as well to help with hydration.
So can we actually talk about Dr. Berg's advice on treating dry and wrinkled skin with just a couple drops of hyaluronic acid and water? Now, for those of you who've been following my channel for some time, I did a video back in 2017 before hyaluronic acid really hit the scene in the skin industry, of why this tip is incomplete. So it's not inaccurate, it's just incomplete. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Christy and I have been professionally treating skin, especially in the areas of hyperpigmentation, acne, and anti-aging without the use of topical medication for over 17 years now. This is actually my 4th career and I retired in 2019. So I'm coming back and I've just started to do, not just, but like in the last couple of years doing my regular clients part-time, and that actually kind of just spread. So those of you who are looking for treatment in any of these areas without the use of topical medication, you want to do it long-term, then I will put the links in the description below. Okay, so one of the reasons why the quick fix of Dr. Berg's tip on how to treat dry and wrinkled skin with hyaluronic acid, he says you just add a couple drops. Well, if your skin is already lacking water, which is dehydration, dry means you're lacking oils in your skin. So if you apply with just water with hyaluronic acid already on dry skin, that's actually going to exacerbate the dehydration, especially if you are living in an arid climate where there's not a lot of moisture in the air. So because hyaluronic acid essentially is a humectant and it needs moisture to bind to, and it can actually pull that moisture from your skin into the air. Now, in areas where there's a lot of moisture in the air, like Florida, you can probably get away with using just hyaluronic acid and water, but I still don't advise that because many people are going back and forth in between air-conditioned air, which is dry, and outside air, which is very humid. So you want to apply, first of all, water can do the trick. But what's even better to hold on to that moisture is when that hyaluronic acid is actually, you're using it with a hydrating mist that doesn't have any witch hazel, alcohol, or just plain hydrosol. You want other humectants in there as well as layering on top emollient and an occlusive agent. So occlusive agent basically keeps the hyaluronic acid or the moisture from evaporating onto the skin. So it just keeps that in there. And that's why if you look at a lot of your lotions, it will have a balance of humectants, different types of humectants, as well as emollients to keep the skin soft, because hyaluronic acid essentially does not keep the skin soft. It just brings moisture to the skin. And then occlusive agents basically to keep the moisture from evaporating, because if it evaporates, it actually can exacerbate and make the skin even more dehydrated. Dry, dehydrated skin lacks both oil and water. So here's a quick tip on how you can find out if you have just dehydrated skin. So if you take your hand and you have the dehydration test, you basically pinch it, and if it holds its shape, right, and it doesn't spring back, that's when you know it's dehydrated. So I'm going to pinch my skin and it bounces right back. So it's not dehydrated. If you hold it and then you let go and it holds its shape for just a few seconds, that's when you know it's dehydrated. Now, wrinkles. The appearance of wrinkles can be exacerbated by your skin being dehydrated, more so than being dry. Dry is more surface tension, so it's flaky and it is itchy. Dehydrated skin, if it'll have natural creases to the skin. Now, can dehydrated skin lead to wrinkles? Absolutely, because long-term dehydration inflames the skin, and inflammation is what leads to the breakdown of collagen and elastin. So wrinkles is really a result of loss of elasticity of the skin. So wrinkles basically are scars from the lack of stretching and bouncing back of the skin. So using hydrated products to treat already formed wrinkles, that is not, it's basically going to just minimize the appearance of wrinkles. So hope that helps. Now we're going to talk about the next two tips that are more for long term as far as plumping up your skin and keeping your skin plumped and hydrated.
The other important thing that I always emphasize is that you really need to work on creating internal health, starting with the basic eating. Connie Chung did this whole show on hyaluronic acid, and she interviewed people in Japan because in a certain village, you had 100-year-old people that were still working. And apparently it was attributed to a certain root that they were consuming that was very high in hyaluronic acid.
Now, here is an insight from someone who is Japanese. Even though this focus piece focused on a small village it's actually called Yuzurihara, on hyaluronic acid, it is actually not uncommon to go to any small Japanese village that are further away from the cities, where the majority of the people who live there still are over the age of 80. And it is not uncommon to see centenarians, that's right, centenarians, carrying buckets of water, buckets of vegetables, doing farm work, walking to the grocery store, and even riding their bicycles. Now, this particular village, they focus on a diet of hyaluronic acid. And Dr. Berg didn't mention that it's not ketogenic, not that he said that they were, but it's not ketogenic. It's actually higher in starchy root vegetables. And the traditional Japanese diet is really, this is why, or one of the reasons why many of them age slower, because the traditional Japanese diet is low in fat, low in dairy products, high in omega-3, so lots of fatty fish, which is good for your skin as well as your hair and your brain and your heart and amongst of other things. It is high in fermented foods, which leads to a healthier gut. When you have a healthier gut, everything else ages slower because it reduces inflammation. It is high in polysaccharide, foods containing polysaccharides like shiitake, maitake, kinoko mushrooms, and high in, many of them don't drink coffee. They drink mostly matcha, the traditional Japanese villages. And matcha is full of EGCG, which is a antioxidant, which is it's proven to be anti-cancer, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory. Now, think about this. Japan is the only country that has had the amount of radioactive energy by two bombs. It's the only country in the world, right? Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Then they have the nuclear waste plant meltdown with Fukushima. And yet, Japan still remains to be the country that has one of the lowest rates of cancer. So my tip to you to actually increase hydration of your skin and plump up your skin is because of the collagen 1 and 3, that's what your skin is mostly made up of. And that is marine collagen. The EGCG is to help with inflammation in your skin, especially when exposed to UVB rays, because EGCG helps neutralize that. So many of the traditional Japanese diets, components of that we have somewhat adopted here, increase that, because that will actually help age your skin slower.
Some people take it orally. That's what I'm going to talk about today. Some people will tell you that it cannot be absorbed if you consume it. That's absolutely not true. You don't absorb a lot of it, but you do absorb some of it, like 2.5% of it. And that can be just enough to replace what you're losing as you age.
Now, here is the best for last tip on to address dry and dehydrated skin directly, especially if you have dry and dehydrated skin persistently or postmenopausal skin, right? Where you're using all types of products and nothing seems to work. So, yes, you can take hyaluronic acid as a supplement, but the challenge with that is you cannot direct that hyaluronic acid to go directly to your skin. It's going to go to where it needs it the most. And hyaluronic acid is present in our organs, our joints, our connective tissues, even in the discs in our vertebrae and our skin. So it's going to direct it to where it needs it the most. So I recommend that you take taurine. Taurine is an amino acid, and it has been clinically shown that it helps regulate hyaluronic acid or increase the production of your body's own hyaluronic acid and ceramides in the skin. But not only does it do that overall, it actually helps regulate cell volume. So as we age, the production of hyaluronic acid decreases. But part of the reason why is because we have more senescent cells. So senescent cells are basically alive cells that don't divide, but they don't die off either. So they take up more space. So after you have too many of them, the cells can release a harmful chemical that can cause inflammation to its surrounding cells as well as overall body. So cells are important. They send and receive messages on what to do with the nutrients that it takes in and how to metabolize that. When your cells are senescent, it doesn't receive those messages. So even if you take a good amount of hyaluronic acid, but you have a high amount of senescent cells, it doesn't really work that way. So if you want to know the best time to take taurine, watch this video right here, because remember, makeup is an art, skincare is a science. See you in the next video.